So here we are at the world famous Hoover Dam, one of the great engineering marvels in the United States. This dam impounds Lake Mead. Behind it was built across the Colorado River. Construction began in 1931 and finished in 1935 and was organized by the Bureau of Reclamation back in the early part of the 20th century. The dam's about 725 feet high. It contains an astonishing 4 million cubic yards of concrete and is probably the lifeblood of the southwestern United States. The thing that impresses me the most by being here for the first time is the scale. When you see Lake Mead in photographs or online, videos, nature shows, whatever, you have a certain sense of the scale of the place. But now that we're here, it's just completely different. In particular, the ring that we see here in photographs, like the photograph in our book, is pronounced, and you notice it. You can't help but see it. But actually being here, you really get a profound sense of the amount of water that has been lost over the past few years. Hoover Dam and Lake Mead are a paradox here in the desert of the Southwest. On the one hand, the positive impacts for human society are innumerable. The reservoir, Lake Mead, is largely a sustainable, or at least a fairly consistent water supply for the people in the Southwest. Water from Lake Mead provides 90% of the water in Las Vegas and has allowed for the tremendous growth that has occurred there. Water from Lake Mead goes to Phoenix and other places in the region. It's also a recreation source for people. People fish and boat and ski here, which is a good thing. The water that runs through the dam produces hydroelectricity, which is used to power the cities of the Southwest, including Las Vegas, Phoenix, Los Angeles even. So those are all positive things from a societal point of view. On the negative side, if you want to look at it that way, a fantastic, wonderful canyon was flooded, submerged when Lake Mead was filled. Archaeological ruins were lost, and the spectacular canyon was gone forever, perhaps. As far as the ecosystem is concerned, the reservoir has changed things, specifically with the downstream flow of the Colorado River. The water coming out of the bottom of the reservoir is cold, which changes the water temperature below the dam, which impacts the fish that live in the river below. It also makes the flow of the Colorado River much more consistent, which is not the way the system behaves under natural circumstances. So features like point bars and sandbars are not as well developed now as they were then. The United States Corps of Engineers has tried to rectify that by releasing water in controlled flows from time to time. So it's very much a mixed bag. It's sort of a paradox. On the one hand, it's very good because water is brought to the Southwest, as the sign back there says. People built this to bring the desert to bloom. On the other hand, certain environmental aspects were lost or heavily impacted. This view beautifully demonstrates the challenge that communities in the Southwest are facing as far as long-term water supplies derived from Lake Mead. As I indicated earlier, Las Vegas receives 90% of its water from Lake Mead. And the rapid growth, the dramatic growth, the exploding growth that's occurred in the Las Vegas Valley in the past 50 years is tied very closely to water levels in Lake Mead. In the past decade, the amount of water being supplied to the lake by the Colorado River has dropped by about 50%. The Colorado River rises in the Rocky Mountains, and it's fed by spring snowmelt from the mountains that ends up flowing downstream into Lake Mead, where it's impounded by Hoover Dam. These water levels are declining. You can see the ample evidence for that with this spectacular ring that's exposed here in the canyon walls. Water levels have dropped about 100 feet in the last 10 years, in part because of reduced runoff from the Colorado and spring snowmelts, and secondly because the region has been in a drought for the past decade. Now, if climate models, future climate change models are correct, then this drought is expected to do nothing but intensify in the coming decades, which leaves us wondering what are going to happen to water levels in Lake Mead in the future, and the overall question of sustainable development in the southwestern United States. If these water levels continue to decline at the rates that they have in the past decade or so, serious challenges are going to face the communities in this part of the country as they struggle with locating alternative water supplies.
Get those stakes up high. Set my soul on fire. Got a whole lot of money that's ready to burn. So get those stakes up high. There's 1,000 pretty women waiting out there. They're all living a devil may care, and I'm just a devil with no despair. So